We handle it every single day. We work for it, we stress about it, we basically spend our lives chasing it. But what is money, really? We think it's just a tool, right? A number in an app. But what if it's something way, way older? Something with a power that stretches all the way back to ancient temples and, believe it or not, the secret arts of sorcerers.
And that's the big question we're tackling today, isn't it? It's a question that could change how you see everything. It suggests that our whole global economy isn't just about commerce, but that it's actually a kind of ritual, a massive piece of financial sorcery that's just hiding in plain sight.
So to go down this rabbit hole, we're diving into the pretty exhaustive and, often controversial research of Tracy Twyman. In her book, she drops this radical idea that if you really want to understand the dollar, you first have to understand the occult.
All right, so our investigation kicks off with the most common, most powerful financial symbol on the entire planet. It's one we see every day, but I bet you've almost never really looked at it.
So on one hand, you've got the tidy textbook history of the dollar sign, right? But Twyman says, hold on, its roots are way older and way deeper than that. She connects it to the staff of Hermes, who was the god of merchants and alchemists, and even further back to ancient Phoenician coins showing a serpent coiled around the tree of knowledge. This kind of suggests that from the very beginning, the symbol for money wasn't just about trade, it was about forbidden wisdom and transformation.
And this mystical connection? It goes way beyond just symbols. As Twyman's research points out, the very act of banking wasn't born in some marketplace. It was born in the most sacred places you can imagine.
Think about it. The first currencies were fundamentally religious objects. In fact, our words money and mint literally come from the Roman goddess Juno Moneta because the first coins were physically struck inside her holy temple. So money was born from the divine, a physical link to the gods. And this spiritual foundation, it just kept going with the Knights Templar.
Now this was just sheer genius. The Templars, who were this mystical order of warrior monks, they solved a huge, deadly problem for pilgrims carrying all their gold. They created a system where a simple piece of paper, protected by secret codes, suddenly represented real physical value. They literally invented the modern check. A spiritual order created the entire architecture for modern finance. Or maybe it wasn't so secular after all.
And this is where we get to the absolute core of Twyman's theory. If a mystical order created banking, what if banking itself is a mystical practice? What if it's just a form of applied alchemy? You see, the dream of the alchemist wasn't just about getting rich. It was about achieving what they called the great work, basically harnessing the power of a god, the ability to create something out of nothing. It was the ultimate quest for power.
So Twyman coined this amazing term, alchenomics, to describe what happened next. She argued that the alchemist's dream wasn't found in some lab, it was found in the boardrooms of banks. They achieved the great work, but they did it through a very specific, modern financial trick.
And here it is. This is the key, fractional reserve banking. You can kind of think of it as the philosopher's stone, but for real. So when you deposit, let's say, $100, the bank keeps a fraction, maybe $10, and then it lends out the other 90. Well, that $90 gets deposited in another bank, which keeps 9 and lends out 81. Over and over, the system literally multiplies your original deposit, creating brand new money that just didn't exist before.
This is the magic trick. It's the power of creation ex nihilo, out of nothing. It is the absolute fulfillment of the alchemical quest. But here's the thing. Every act of creation needs some kind of raw material, some kind of fuel.
So if our financial system is one giant alchemical machine creating money from nothing, what are we feeding into the furnace? This is where Twyman's investigation takes its deepest and maybe its darkest turn.
So the crucial moment was when we left the gold standard. Our money became fiat currency. The word fiat is basically a command, let it be done. The value isn't in the paper or the metal, it's a value that's declared into existence by an act of will, and it's powered only by our shared belief. It's backed by nothing, or is it?
This is the twist.
Twyman argues we didn't get rid of a standard. We just swapped it for another one. We moved from a gold standard to a time standard. The money's created out of thin air, sure, but it's paid for and earned and given value by the one truly finite resource every single one of us has, our limited time on this planet.
And get this, Twyman found this exact same story hidden in old alchemical allegories. You've got old Father Time, Saturn, that's the system, slow, fixed. And then you have youthful, speedy Mercury. That's the spark of life, our potential. To perform the great work, Saturn has to capture and sacrifice Mercury. The system has to consume our life force, our time, our potential to fuel itself. The 40-hour work week? Maybe it isn't just a schedule, maybe it's an alchemical formula.
Now, this leads to the most shocking part of the theory, but it is absolutely crucial to understand that Twyman reads these old alchemical texts symbolically, not literally. So when a text talks about the purest blood of young infants, she argues it's not a literal recipe. Instead, she says it's the deepest layer of the allegory, the idea that to create value forever, the system needs to sacrifice the potential of the young, of future generations who are born into a world of debt, just to keep the machine running.
Okay, so let's pull all these threads together. We've gone from the serpent on the dollar sign to bankers in temples, from the alchemist's wildest dream to the modern Federal Reserve. What is the one single force holding this whole reality-bending structure together?
It's faith. Just collective, universal, unwavering belief. Our financial system isn't really a machine of logic and numbers. It's more like a temple, a church. And every time we accept a dollar or spend one, we're performing an act of faith. We're reinforcing the spell and keeping the whole magic trick alive.
And ultimately, that's what Twyman's thesis boils down to. We've built our entire world on an alchemical engine that transforms two invisible things, our belief in our lifespans, into the tangible power we call money. It's a perspective that really does reframe everything we think we know about economics.
And that leaves us with one final, very big question. If this whole spell only works because we all agree to believe in it, what happens to the world if one day we all just wake up and decide to stop?